So, about technology, when we
Uh-huh.
talked last time, you mentioned two advances or two techniques used for Cloudy
Hmm.
2 that really helped achieve the look you wanted. One
Right, right.
for the environment and the other about crowd simulation. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, the environmental system. So if you remember in Cloudy One, the movie was very austere at the beginning of the film. So we had a lot of kind of urban space. And the touchstone that we had for our design language was from a guy named Sasek, who did a lot of children's books, like This is London, This is Edinburgh, This is San Francisco. And coming into this movie, we knew we were going to go into an organic space, that being that of the jungle. And so one of our problems, or one of our difficulties, was that Sasek tended to basically create urban space, not really organic space. So we had to kind of find a different touchstone for that shape language. We looked a lot at Mary Blair, and we looked a lot at the movies from like the 1950s, the Disney films,
Yeah.
and we definitely wanted to get that painterly quality. So we challenged our design team on the ImageWorks side to come up with a system that let the environments feel real, but at the same time let them actually drop into a painting at a certain distance from camera. So we came up with a system called, I say we as in the royal we, I mean, smarter people than myself and Cody did this. But they came up with a system whereby, like, when a leaf was close to camera, it had a high fidelity and it looked real. But as the camera moved away from that element, it would start to drop down in texture, and to the point where it was a painting. And our art director Dave Bleich painted a whole bunch of textures just on different types of paper, so watercolor, gouache. He would just sort of paint the stuff and then scan it in, and then the guys on the ImageWorks side worked out a system whereby the camera would make a choice as to when it would fade into that texture. So it became something that we call depth styling, and I'm sure it's one of those things where filmmakers were going to figure out how to do this at some point in time. But what really made us excited was that our set started to feel like a painting.
Yeah.
ImageWorks is amazing for doing real. I mean, they do like Spider-Man, they do all the Superman movies and all that kind of stuff. So they can do real really well. But we
Yes.
were asking them to do a painting, and I think it was really successful in terms of how the film looks and feels and makes it feel kind of original. So that was sort of a big thing that we were happy that we were able to achieve. And the other element was, in CG, it's always hard when you're dealing with crowd systems because every character has to be built. So it's not like the old days where you could just draw, different character designs and fill up a scene. And so if you watch Cloudy One really carefully, you'll notice that like a couple characters repeat. Like there's like 9 Joe Towns in every crowd, and Flint's mother comes back to life, and she's in a whole bunch of those shots because we just had to fill up the set, right? So going to San Fran Jose, which is where Flint ends up graduating, we wanted the place to feel more urban, more cosmopolitan, and we wanted the sense of like kind of this melting pot, this ethnic diversity that America is really known for. And so the idea of having a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes of characters was something that we really challenged ourselves to come up with. So Craig Kelman, our lead character designer, basically drew like 8 body types for men and 8 body types for women. And then our digital team came up with a system where they would build those really quickly and then morph between them. And in that morphing, we could create thousands of characters.
Yes.
And the rig was loose enough that the rig would hold up for the most part. And then the animators could do what they needed to do to tweak the rig to make sure that the characters could move. And so if you look at our crowd systems, I think it's some of the most entertaining crowds that I've seen yet, because if you freeze it, there's lots of different people doing different things, and they all look very different. So it was just it's one of those things where when you watch the movie, you probably don't even really realize it, but it's for us, it was
Yeah.
compelling to be able to kind of take that level of design through all the choices that we made on the in the new world that Flint goes to.
Yeah. Amazing. That reminds me of the breakthrough Weta did, that Weta Digital did when they were working on the Lord of the Rings trilogy, when they first used a plugin called Massive. Yes.
Massive, yeah,
For crowd
yeah. I
simulation.
mean,
Yeah.
I do believe we're using Massive too. I mean, I think we use a derivation of that.
Uh-huh.
It's a
Uh-huh.
Maya plugin, right?
Yes. Yes. It's a Maya plugin. Yeah. But I think it was when they were working on Lord of the Rings, it was developed for that project specifically. Then it was
Yeah.
available for other studios as a plugin.